Just give you guys an overview, talk about 6 trends that we're seeing globally in the app market space, and then open up for question and answers. I work for Distimo. I've been in the research business for quite some time, live in San Francisco, ski, sail, run. Distimo, we're the #1 app analytics company in the world. We track over 3.2 billion downloads per quarter. We have the most accurate estimates on revenue. So if you're looking for estimates on how much revenue an app is generating or a publisher is generating, we have that information. We also have free tools that you can use to track the performance of your own apps. We've got a global footprint headquartered in Amsterdam. A few of our clients, Zynga, Rovio, Pocket Gems. Our overview of our products, we've got free tools where you can track your conversions, and if you're on different app stores, you can do that. You can bring all that information together, and then we also have our App IQ product that gives you revenue and download information. This is just a view of our UI on our analytics platform. So you can see we support all the major stores in terms of finding out how your apps are performing, and we use that to the information that we gain to show estimates on revenue. So far you guys have gotten a lot of information for people sort of looking at different ways your app can get featured, lifted, socialized, ported, acquired, desired, so to speak. And you looked a lot of even the last speaker in terms of how your app can perform and monetize better, but I'd like to just take a moment, step back, and look at some of the broader global economic trends in the industry. It's hard when you're sort of down in your own, you have your own sort of space and geography of where you're at, but it's important to take a step back, and if you've sort of made a lot of money on your last game or about to develop a new game, to know where a greenfield of opportunity might be. Just based on the data that we've collected, we're showing that the greatest opportunity in terms of revenue is in Asia, primarily in Japan and Korea, and also the US, and Europe taken as a whole is still smaller than either one of those markets. I don't know if you guys can see this, but so the United States is on the left, and then Japan, then Korea in terms of market size, market share. These slides will be available so you can look at this in greater detail. Second area that we're looking at is who's winning in terms of platform, whether it's iOS or Android. iOS still monetizes more, but we're seeing the trend is that Android is gaining rapidly for revenue. So this is looking at the Apple App Store compared to Google Play, with Google's catching up really quickly, and the main contributors to that in terms of overall revenue, given the size of revenue of the Japanese and the Korean market, is the Android devices that are penetrating the Japanese and Android markets. This is an example, if you guys are familiar with Obage and their revenues over iOS or Android in 3 of their titles. And then when Square Enix came out with their Final Fantasy III for mobile, virtually everywhere globally, iOS didn't perform as well as Google Play Store for that title. And the game was not a free-to-play game. It was a premium game with a market price of $15.99 with no in-app purchases. And 73% of that revenue was generated on Google Play with no in-app purchases. This is everyone knows about Candy Crush. You're probably playing it right now. For the second quarter of 2013, this is just for Japan and yen for both iOS and Android. And you can see that Candy Crush is a free game, free to play, and it was pretty even across the board with in-app purchases. So, regardless of if it's a premium game or free-to-play game, we're seeing that Android and iOS are sort of neck and neck. King, with all the money that they've made, our data shows that they made 200 million euros in the last 12 months for just on Candy Crush. So the question is, well, with that much money being made on a free-to-play game, common debate is, do you come out with a premium game or free-to-play, and who wins? In that example, well, this is just looking at Japan and looking at the top grossing apps on the leaderboard for Japan on both iOS and Android. And if you look at the leaderboard, you'll notice that none of the top producing revenue grossing apps are premium apps. They're all free-to-play apps. And then in the United States, that's similar as well, except for with the exception of one, Minecraft. But otherwise, they're all as well. They're all free-to-play apps in terms of top grossing. So even though single titles might still do well and make a lot of money, from just a top grossing standpoint, over the life of the title, overall, that free-to-play tends to at least lead or have the most potential for monetization. And this is an example of the growth curve we see. The top one is draw something, and the bottom one is I think we've got, this is just one game that's with in-app purchases that Supercell, heyday, thank you. But anyway, so as you can see, the graph, if there's no in-app purchases, there's usually some generated excitement. One of these fine vendors or companies that you met with while you've been at this conference, they've gone and showed you ways that you can generate interest in your title. But if you don't have ways to monetize outside the premium price you've charged, the growth curve tends to drop off afterwards. There's a lot of excitement and lift, and then this curve is pretty typical that we see in the data. And then the bottom one, there's if the game's engaging and has multiple levels, like Heyday, where they can build on the game, the monetization growth is longer. It's strong. Maybe not as strong at premium games peak, but it definitely has the ability to last longer. From a revenue by business model in the U.S., so this is just looking at, we're still looking at premium versus free to play, and this is the market share. The green being the free to play, both across iOS and Android. And then the blends, and then just premium titles in terms of overall revenue on those app stores. In Japan, it's a little more dramatic on the free-to-play side, and Japan being the second largest market outside the U.S. So if you develop games for the U.S. and you're looking for another area to monetize, and you're looking at Japan, maybe you're already in Japan, we find that you probably already know this, but this is what we're seeing. Just shifting gears a little bit from the free-to-play or premium, if you have decided to venture out, or you already are, you probably know this, or you've heard this before, that you want to localize your game. If you don't localize in terms of language, just the data shows that the people that are actually making the most revenue in a country are developing games for those countries. In Japan and Korea, all the top grossing games are publishers either from that area or have designed games for that area. Local players, publishers dominate those markets. If you look at app localization, again, The only title in both China and Japan that in this slide the takeaway that doesn't have the language localized is Clash of the Clans, but in the title. But the reason it was able to get this strong overall in China was due to localization. Here's a graph that highlights that for the Apple App Store. If you see at the end of the curve where it goes up, that's on June 17th is where it starts to really rise, and that's when they released the Japanese language version of Clash of the Clans. So prior to them having the language, the Japanese language within the game, it still did reasonably well, but it didn't really take off until they included the Japanese language in that release. Another area that we're looking at that we're seeing a lot, just from the data that shows us, is that that iPad has a lot of premium. It does really well in terms of monetization with premium content. So it even though there may be fewer downloads, we're seeing a lot more premium revenue generated. So if you look at downloads in the US, the iPhone is 3 times what iPad downloads are, but the revenue generated on the iPad in games is equivalent to the revenue generated on the iPhone. Looking ahead, the 6th point, we're just looking at some of the opportunities that we're seeing for developers outside of iOS and Android, Japan, the US. There's a lot of companies here that will help you get across multiple platforms. We found from the data that Amazon is one platform that's doing well in terms of monetizing content and games, and it's a lot higher until we really looked at the data that it's the revenues being generated are pretty substantial, or almost equivalent in some games to Google Play. And there's a lot of interest about companies going public with King and investments in Supercell and talking to venture capitalists, and they're looking for investing in a lot of developers. So those are just sort of industry trends we're seeing just from talking as well as looking at the data. For Amazon, the volumes for Android, the top 200 free applications had a total of 16 million downloads. The top 200 paid applications had in total 1.6 million downloads and earned $3 million on one-off fees. The most downloaded applications were games on Amazon. And then for free apps, Google Play is roughly speaking more than 10 times bigger than the Amazon App Store. But for paid apps, Google Play is only 2 times bigger for paid apps. So if you are developing premium titled games, I guess our data would suggest that if that's the route you're taking, that the Amazon App Store is not a bad way to go, or at least worth considering. Just some graphs showing titles for the Amazon App Store. In some cases, it's equivalent between the Google Play and the Amazon App Store. This is just showing some of the, if you look at the top apps on the Amazon store, from this chart, they're all premium apps. They're all paid apps. They're not free to play. None of the games are free to play. And so if you are developing, like I said, again, premium apps, that's good to consider. These are 2 charts from this last month and then a year ago in September, and we're showing that of the top 10, there's less than half of the top 10 year over year is still in the top 10. So there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of people that are shifting places in the market. There's companies that are positioning themselves to go public, and then there's venture capitalists that are looking to get in the game, so to speak. So a lot of opportunity for developers. In summary, 6 trends that we're seeing is Asia. On a platform basis, there's a tie between Android and iOS. Most of the time, freemium wins, except when we talked about Amazon. But for Google Play and iOS, at least in the top amount of revenue. It's a freemium model. Definitely, you want to localize the language if you're going international or outside in another market. Find a good partner for that. iPad or tablet owners, they spend more. There's obviously fewer of them, but they monetize well. And Amazon's got some great premium game channel for monetizing your games and titles. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Kieran. Man, that was some data-packed slides. I wanted to remind all those of you that are taking pictures of the slides from the chairs, from the audience. All of these slides will be downloadable on the Casual Connect site after the show, so you can certainly download these so that you can see the particularly small text. Tremendous amount of information presented in a very short time. Any questions? You melted them. Everybody's like, whoa. Here we go.
Thanks for the slides. A quick question. Paid versus free. Is this account for revenue, like 7% of paid games is revenue-wise or download-wise?
That's for revenue-wise.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, clearly it doesn't necessarily apply for the other.
Hey, I'm not sure if you're the one I need to ask it about, but what is your opinion about the new kids category on iOS?
So I've talked to some developers that are, I'd say the leading developers, or the number one in that kids category. They like the fact that they're getting more recognition from the iOS standpoint if you're talking to the developers. It's a little early to look at the data in terms of gleaning some insights from it, but I think at least Apple's recognizing the fact that Amazon, they've got a big share of the kids category right now, and we think that that's why that there's a lot of premium games, because Amazon's right now, they're not producing a phone and they're just producing tablets. There's rumors they're going to come out with a bunch of phones next year, which might be of more interest to this audience. But since it's primarily based as a tablet and consuming content that way, parents like the fact that their kids aren't going to go in and make purchases throughout this game. They like the idea of just buying some titles, like buying a book, or in this case, buying a kid's game and putting it out there. And Amazon's, as a result, has a big market share in the kids category. And I think this is basically Apple's acknowledgement of that, and then as well response, because I think they'd like to also be able to have those same kind of, or at least take some of that market share back from Amazon in the kids category. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's definitely that a little bit of apprehension from time, but then also talking to the developers that have focused on the kids category. This is something that they've already known that most developers don't know. So I think it's like you pointed out. I think if it's someone's thinking about developing for that category, it's a good insight for them, since there's so many of the developers that could be getting into that market.
Hi, thank you for the talk. I'm wondering if you have any data on staggered launching, whether you go to Apple, then Amazon, then Google, versus trying to do a unified launch on multiple platforms simultaneously.
We do have some data on that. I haven't. That's not something I can like pull out right away in terms of like how the segmentation. But if you're going to do any type of segmentation launch, you have to look not just at the platform, but where the country you're rolling out, how it's localized, what segment that how much market share you're targeting for, and make some goals and keep those aspects in mind as well. But feel free to get in touch with me, and I'll follow up with you on email.
You don't have all your data memorized? I mean,
sorry.
You should really bring all of it if you're going to come and talk
all
here. Any other questions?
Hi, I have a question. Do you typically find satisfactory the end user license agreements that are coming with like Apple or Amazon or Google? They use your own cookie cutter end user license agreements that were terms of use of games and such? Or you see people coming and writing their own EUL to protect themselves, basically?
I didn't hear quite all that or understand. Just in terms of the 3 stores and for the developer, in terms of what they have to sign as an
Yeah,
agreement?
correct. No, when people download in the game, they usually click on accept the terms, or they abide by certain rules and terms by the platform offers, the Apple Store or Google Store. So the question is, do gamers, developers write their own or order their own end user agreements to go with the game, or they typically keep the Apple's EUL?
I'm not sure that's a topic that's directly relevant to analytics for mobile games, is it?
It's somewhat, but not
So
directly.
you're wondering whether he has analytics about whether people are accepting
That's
or
correct.
declining EULAs? Do you track that?
Yeah, that's not something we've really tracked. I think there might be some people that are looking at that. I think if they'd be interested in that, would be some attorneys that are specialized at focusing on games in terms of terms and conditions.
I think he's asking whether you have any data associated with accept or decline rates for custom EULAs versus standard EULAs.
No,
But doesn't sound like
yeah,
that's
that's
something you
not something
track.
we track
Okay.
today. I mean, we collect a lot of data, but that's not something we have actually parsed out of it.
Thank you.
Another one. I'm from TopTel and I'm using Flurry for analytical. And what I wanted to ask is about the segmentation. Right now, what you offer is a segmentation that basically appear after 24 hours and even more, if I want to segmentize my events or stuff like that. The current tool that we have in the market are much more faster than that, but it costs money. So my question is, it's something that's going to improve, or we're going to keep with the excuse it's taking time?
Yeah, I think I mean, a lot of that is a function of sort of updating. A lot of tools, if they're tied to the stores and the performance in the stores, you're sort of at the mercy of Apple, Google, and Amazon. So until they get better on providing those statistics, which at some point I think they'll have to if they want to keep growing their platform. So I would think, I mean, it would just be like a wild guess. I mean, I would think it's something that they would start rolling out, probably not for like the 2 to 5 year time frame, not the 1 to 2 year, if that's something that's going to happen. So that's a pretty long time in terms of a game development. So I think it's more on the longer side.
Thank you very much. We'll wrap this one up.
All right.